don't know what you're saying.
Yes.
All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. Anyone desiring to speak on any item on the agenda is invited to do so during the visitor correspondence section, but will be limited to 3 minutes. After being recognized by the mayor, please state your name and address for the record. Anyone desiring to speak for a longer period of time should make arrangements with the city clerk prior to the meeting. A person wishing to speak during the business portion of the meeting must complete a city council agenda request form. This form is available on the city's website and must be completed and submitted no later than 5 p.m. on the Thursday preceding any city council meeting. Copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the council chamber. Mayor and council reserve the right to adjourn into executive session on any agenda item per Nebraska Revised Statutes 84-1410. One copy of all reproducible written material to be discussed at this meeting is available for examination or copying. Roll call, please.
John is absent. Chris?
Here.
Linda?
Here.
Brian?
Yes.
Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Chris, will you lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I approve a publication in front of me. Visitors correspondence. At this time, any individual may speak on any issues not on the agenda or on any agenda items that do not include public hearings. Comments are limited to 3 minutes for each individual. Visitors may state their comments and should not expect the council to engage in back and forth dialogue regarding the comments. Unless an agenda item includes a public hearing, no visitors may speak during the business portion of the meeting. Need a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Vote, please. All in favor? Need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda. Second.
Vote, please.
I would like to discuss number 11 there.
Okay.
You maybe make a motion to remove it from the consent agenda so that you can discuss.
If you remove that, I will approve it.
Yeah, I think that's the proper way to proceed.
Okay, then I make a motion, we remove that from the consent agenda.
So you're saying 7A, which is the minutes, right? There's no 11 on the consent agenda.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Cindy, which one did you say?
7A.
Thank you.
Okay, so we need a new motion then?
Now,
You made a motion. Is there a second? Second.
Vote, please. All in favor?
Okay, now you can reconsider the consent agenda.
Okay, now I need a motion to approve the consent agenda without item 7A.
so moved.
Second.
Vote, please. All in favor?
Thank you.
All right, so
Thank you.
now we will address 7A, which is the minutes from last month.
Okay, I wanted clarification about, on the January 9th meeting, there was a motion put forth to pursue the new city hall, police, library building.
To move forward with the next steps, correct?
It was approved by 3 members, opposed by 1.
Correct.
Okay, last month, Andrea was here and she tried to explain to me, which I still disagree with, about rewording that motion, which I disagree with. I don't think we should reword it.
We aren't rewording it, she's clarifying what it meant. If you go back and listen to the recording, it said numerous times that it was about moving forward with the next steps, and then the minutes indicated something different. So you're welcome. I've gone back and listened to it on Facebook a couple different times. I believe Jeff has as well, and Andrea has. And so it was the minutes that were inaccurate, not the motion and the intent.
Yeah, and I think that the wording of the minutes of the January 9th meeting stand there. That's the minutes have not been changed. The intent of that by Andrea was to clarify what the majority of the council intended. The wording of the resolution maybe wasn't as good as it could have been. The minutes, excuse me. And so that's what it was. And certainly you're free to disagree with that. I know people do, but she believed she was stating the intent of what the council did, and that is that there has been no formal approval, no decision made to have the council approve, let me finish please, approve the construction of a new city hall. And I know you disagree with that, and that's certainly your right, but that was what it was an attempt to clarify what the intent of that was. And so that's what happened, and those minutes, the wording in the minutes stands, that's just a clarification. So
I still disagree. With the motion being put forward, that is an action moving forward, correct?
On the next steps, yep.
Okay, we also put it in the budget, a line item, allowing the money for this phase 1. So the money has been budgeted.
There's no phases on the municipal building. So what's phase 1?
Well, you broke it out into 3 phases, right?
That's the park.
I know the park is, but so is the city hall building, because I thought if you went over a certain amount of money, it had to go to a vote to the people.
We haven't determined the funding yet. It's the funding source that determines that. So the motion was to look at next steps to determine the funding. If we fund it with the bond, it 100% goes to a vote of the people, but we have not determined which funding method we're using. Hence why we can't even start saying we're gonna actually construct anything until we determine the funding source. I mean, have you reviewed any funding options?
No.
Right, we haven't even looked at them.
No.
So that's the point of it.
Okay, well, I will still stand by it, I disagree with it.
And that is your right to do so.
Right.
All right, so now we would need a motion to accept the minutes from 7A in the consent agenda.
I make that motion.
second.
Vote, please. 3 in favor, 1 against, or sorry, 2 in favor, 1 against. All right, number 8, Valley Community Historical Society, Dave Williams.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Well, believe it or not, it was February of 2023 when I addressed this issue with you folks. So it's been over a year. I was shocked when I went back and looked at that. So I think the information you probably have filled out in regard to being on the agenda probably explains, again, why I'm here. Again, I'm president of the Valley Community Historical Society, and I think all of you are aware that there was some discussion about the possibility of using the Horseshoe Pit area if the Historical Society decides to either do a building or do some plans in the future. So we're trying to nail down our options, because if we don't really have any options, there isn't a whole lot for us to discuss. So we would like to do something, be it a possibility of a new building or something, but we really can't go into much discussion with our membership until we at least have an idea that maybe we have a plot of land that we can use for that. So I did go as far over the last 13 months, 12 months, all the utilities in that Horseshoe Pit area, there is none. There was one communication line, and Rune, I think I sent you that information. That has been vacated now. It wasn't in use, so really there's nothing in there. The area that we are asking for is about 80 feet deep. That would be going north of our existing property. And our existing property is also 150 foot wide from west to east, east to west, whichever direction. So that's the area. I believe Christie also gave you each this picture of the area that it kind of shows, actually, I held it upside down, but, so it's this area right here, approximately 80 by 150. And it looks like, from what I could tell on, if I'm looking at this correctly, park master plan, alternate D phasing, is that the one that council has agreed upon, or is going to agree upon, or am I not correct?
For phase one anyway, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and I think, according to what I see on here, there's nothing planned in the particular area that I'm asking about.
No, and we left that area as a holdouter potentially for that, knowing that you had already asked for that. So we don't have anything planned for that area.
Okay. So I'm here tonight to ask, again, if you would be willing to make a motion to give that piece of property to the Historical Society. If you don't end up doing anything down there, obviously it goes right back to you. And if the way the bylaws are written for the Historical Society, if it goes into dissolution, just to remind you, all of the properties come back to the city and the buildings. The artifacts go to a museum somewhere, it doesn't designate which one, in Douglas County, and the monies go to the Valley City Park. So you really don't have much risk at this point.
Let's keep that going, so we don't have that.
So you don't need anything else, I realize that, but, I mean, even if the motion says sell to us for $1, whatever we need to do, I'd really like to get some clarification tonight so we can at least be talking about it.
Thoughts?
How come you guys don't expand west of the current building?
West is a street, dedicated street. Oh, you're talking about on our property? Well, if we do, then that would eliminate any space, Chris, for an outdoor display or even to have, like we have our ice cream social. There really wouldn't be any outdoor spot to do that if we were to put a building in there.
If you guys expanded, would you be open more?
That's certainly our intent. I mean, being open 2 hours on Sunday, we've got to do more than that. So we have a list of things that we know we need to address. That certainly is one.
I don't have any issue with that. I mean, that land never gets used.
I mean,
March Street's closed anyway, right there.
To the west, yeah.
Does there have to be any monetary amount, or can we just give it to them?
Well, I think if you're for it, I think, you would direct the staff to come up with a plan about how to do it. We need a legal description and, I mean, I don't think you can actually do it tonight, but if you're in favor of it, direct the city staff to come up with a plan to accomplish it.
I'm for it.
For it too, as long as you work with our people to get it taken care of. It's what you guys wanna do.
Yeah, I think you should.
Can we get a motion?
yeah, so to entertain a motion to move forward on next steps of evaluating this option.
I move forward on it. Make that motion.
Next steps,
Next steps.
okay?
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I appreciate it.
So I would say get in contact with Dave and Christie.
Okay,
They'll
will
be your
do.
primary contacts.
Just quickly, a reminder that the Historical Society is hosting that meet and greet the candidates coming up on April 2nd, 6:30 to 8:30 at the Valley Vets Club. This is not a debate. It is just for you to have an opportunity to meet the candidates for the mayor, city council, and the school board. Because I'm guessing most of you don't know each and every one.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, number 9, Cornhusker State Games Triathlon, Eric. Sure.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Grove, City of Valley. My name is Eric Moser, 2840 Legacy Commons Plaza, Omaha, Nebraska, 68130. Here to kind of make the intent known that We're looking to bring the Forester State Games back to the Valley, out at Mallard Landing. We've been here the last 2 years. The extent of the bike course kind of goes from the boat dock at Mallard to 264th and Pacific, 252nd Pacific, and then back to Mallard. And then the run course also runs from the boat dock Mallard to Sokol Camp, and then back into Mallard. The date is July 14th. It's Sunday from 7 a.m. to about noon or so. The roads will reopen probably around 10:45, give or take. Still kind of planning with the city and with Douglas County and the proper jurisdictions, but just kind of making the intent known for everyone, and just want to make sure that if there's any questions that we can answer now and reroute things and address them as they come.
No, not during the business portion, I apologize. Well, he was addressing the city council. And can you confirm, either Doug or Greg, we made sure that the construction down there is not gonna start till after? Or is it gonna be before and be done?
Either completely done or late flood.
Okay,
Thank you, appreciate that.
perfect. Do you guys have any questions? Okay, anybody wanna make them?
You got involvement with Waterloo too with this?
Yep, so Waterloo, and then the fire, and then we've got some medical as well, that's also on that. And then another third-party medical as well through Douglas County.
Yes, Terry?
Being fairly new to the community and not knowing where all these streets, do any of these routes cross the state highway?
They do not.
No,
Because if it did, we'd have to notify the Department of Transportation of that and get their permission to close it for those events.
no, and it's the majority now is county roads, not even city, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just kind of, it has been rerouted south. We did like to have it come
Mhm.
into town, but with the construction and
Yeah.
everything, we're just kind of waiting and.
Yep.
I'm sure you maybe construction fatigue by now, but.
Sure. Okay. Somebody want to make a motion that we allow the triathlon this year so he can continue working with the groups?
I make a motion to allow that.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor? All right. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, number 10 is resolution 2024-15, which is the creative planning, audit preparation, and bank reconciliation. I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-15.
I make a motion, we, entertain resolution 2024-15.
Okay, is there a second?
I have a question.
So we'll do a motion and a second, and then we'll have discussion after that, if there's a second.
So we don't second it, dies.
Sure.
I make a motion to go all of it.
So you second.
Second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2024-15. Is there any discussion?
Yeah. Okay, we've used them before, correct?
Yep, that's who Lori's working with now.
Okay, so are they replacing the CPA,
Which one? The one that does our budget or the audit?
the audit?
No, so Bland and Associates, we've already approved to do our audit. I think we approved that in January or February.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And so Creative Planning is the group that came in to help get the books back in order from the differences in the accounting entries based
Okay.
on the previous auditor's audit.
So are we going to continue doing this year after year? Or
Well-
just until we get them in order?
No, this is until we get them in order. So 2022 is nearly complete, right, Lori?
21, 22, we started making our adjusted trial balance entries.
Do you want to just come up? Sorry, I totally put you on the spot there.
Lori Sorensen, City Treasurer. We started making our adjusted trial balance entries this week to prepare the books for the new auditor, Nick Bland, for him to close out 21, 22. with an unmodified, hopefully,
Okay, so then we gotta start working on 2023,
which we're
Yeah,
doing.
and that's what we're doing. Yep.
because am I correct that that's to do like in 18 days or something?
It is, but Bland has worked with the state just because of the previous.
We've been working with
issues.
Dakota.
Yeah.
They're at the state auditor's office.
So we got an extension if we needed it?
It's not technically extension at this point. They are giving us extra time to submit our documents.
Okay.
Yeah, so once we get all of this stuff done and back in order though, we shouldn't have to do it again because Lori will have the framework and everything will be ready to go and in the new system.
So hopefully this will be the last time we need it.
2022 and 2023 are going much better.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. Lori's been working very diligently on it.
okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, please vote, please. All right, 3 in favor, resolution 2024-15 is hereby adopted. Okay. Number 11 is resolution number 2024-16, JEO Consulting Group, Valley Municipal Building Engagement Support Agreement. I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-16.
And this is for the community engagement and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I make a motion, we entertain resolution number 2024-16.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2024-16. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We did that whole survey, when was that, last year, out of July, correct? Is this more like what that is?
No,
Are we just
so,
trying to convince people we need the new city
well,
building?
it's not even necessarily the new building, but it's to show the people and the constituents why we're out of space. This is actually a very prime example. So we're already starting this because we're definitely probably over fire marshal capacity right now. So their goal is to engage the community, get all the facts out. They'll have a town hall meeting. They'll create like a separate website for all of that stuff. But it's really, so it's not necessarily to do the needs assessment like we did before to determine what we need. It's more of a, engagement to be able to relay all of this information to the public in a nice package.
Get the facts out.
Yeah, I don't know, Chris, you were at that meeting. Do you have any other
No, that's
comments?
pretty much it. Now, we were looking for a way to get, there's a lot of misconceptions and stuff.
Right, a lot of
going, and
false information.
what we're looking for and, what our options are, pretty much.
Well, maybe that's where we do a town hall with city council members instead of the architect company for it.
Well, the council members will be there, but they'll be able to do it in a manner that is them doing it. I don't know if you were at the school when they did their town hall with their architect about the sports complex, but they show all the designs and then they facilitate the discussions to where we don't have to. But we need to have a way to get the misinformation and false information out of the picture. I mean, if you have a better idea and want to volunteer to help with it, I'm game, but I don't know how else we're gonna do it.
Well, it's just kind of a steep price, I think, $22,600 for him to do this when.
Any other discussion? Okay, there's no discussion. We have a motion and a second, or no other discussion. We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2024-16. Please vote. 2 in favor, 1 against. Resolution 2024-16 is hereby adopted. All right. Number 12 is resolution 2024-17. Bruin, would you like to talk about this?
Yes, I'm gonna be up here a while. I'm gonna grab my water. Okay. Rune Van Bogart, building zoning, building inspector, floodplain, all of that. So this resolution that you guys have, we did the same, Christie, correct me if I'm wrong, with this company, American Legal, to put more of our stuff online. I mean, since the beginning, since I was hired, Cindy has also pushed for transparency, getting more of our stuff online. Again, the permitting software, all this stuff, making it easier. All this would do is take our existing zoning ordinances, some of which we're voting on amending today, and putting it online. It is currently online. What happens when you open it up online is it pulls up a single PDF, it pulls up all 160 pages. And unless you're savvy and know how to Control F and search for the right things, it doesn't really break it down per chapter. What this company would do is, so Fremont has something very similar, where there would actually be a link, you would go to our zoning ordinances, it would be broken up by chapter on the left-hand side via like a table of contents, and there would also be a search function that would be integrated into the actual item. So if you're looking for utility trailer storage, for example, since we're talking about it next, you could find that, search it, it would pull up every instance of it. We would put our zoning code up, our municipal code. I'm not sure if that includes the municipal code or not. But the zoning is at least getting us the first step in the right direction. It also makes it a lot easier for us to change, yeah, it's just the zoning code, to change when we have these changes. I can just send them, and for $20, they will replace the page that says utility, or that has the definition where utility trailer would go. They will edit it, they charge us $20, and we have an active, live document that is updated at the time of ordinance adoption, and not just living in my server until I can get with a planner or someone to send me the Word document of ours, and then I can go, you know, this is just gonna be a lot quicker process and serve the constituents much better.
So in other words, you're just going more in depth with this company.
Exactly. More in depth and a lot easier to change. For example, we've got all these changes, these ones that are coming up next, and the ones that we've done in the last 2-3 months since I've been changing a lot of our stuff, the highway overlay, all that. Currently, if you go to our website, you would have to come to me and I would say, no, these are the current amended ones. So with this, I can just send an email off to Colleen and say, hey, I need this page. Instead of saying this, I need it to match what we just amended. Here's $20. And in 20 minutes, it's updated. So it'll make our zoning ordinances much more accessible.
Yeah, it'll make it easier for the people that need to use them.
Well,
Right now it's,
easier for the community
yeah.
and for Rune and
Absolutely.
for everybody.
I'm gonna use it too. I mean, I live in this document, so I know where to search pretty quickly just based on what I'm looking at. But I've been here for over 2 years and I'm looking at it probably every day. But I will still probably use it when searching for something when, hey, I need to know exactly what this definition states. And it'll be available to everyone. It'll just be part of our website. It'll just be a link in our website, click, you're there. So.
Okay, that explains it better.
And then there's the hosting fee. Again, I mean, it's software, so we're paying a hosting fee. And then the big thing to me is that $20 per page that we can just really quickly update our stuff. It might cost us, again, I'm gonna send her all of this with our changes. That's why I waited until this, so we don't incur extra fees to say, hey, here's our existing, and by the way, here's all these changes at $20 a page. I'm gonna send it all to her lump sum, remove these pages, add these. So we should be much more accessible, much easier to search. So that's what the intent of this resolution is.
How secure is it? Can somebody go in there and set their own stuff?
No, it would all be, it's supported through their system, so they have it all locked. I can't even change it, which is good. I mean, I shouldn't be able to. I shouldn't be able to go in there and just start typing stuff. It goes to her in an email, again, all tracked with the ordinance attached, so then she knows, okay, I can officially change this. You can't go in and start changing things. It's all locked behind a firewall. I mean, there's nothing that's getting to it, so.
Okay.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-17.
Second.
No, she can't do
I would entertain a motion. Does somebody want
I
to
will
make a motion?
entertain that
You
motion.
will make the motion. Okay. Is there any other discussion? All right, vote please. Three in favor. Resolution 2024-17 is hereby adopted. Okay, ordinance number 13, ordinance number 806, amendments to overlay district design standard expectations to commercial design standards for accessory structures, provide storage of utility trailers, and provide the addition and definition of a micro distillery. Varun, would you like to review this?
So I can go through it really quick, and then if you guys want to stop me if you have questions. The first section is number 1. This was brought to planning. The definition of a micro distillery was never defined in our code. Microbrewery was multiple times. So the discussion was made, hey, I've been talking to not at least one, if not more people who are interested in coming out here doing something like that. And maybe they don't come out here. I don't really care one way or the other professionally. But at least we have it in there in case that comes up. Essentially, it would add the micro distillery definition. And then the zoning matrix would also state micro brewery and micro distillery in the same line. Permitted, all in the same areas. I didn't change any of that. We were just adding a definition. So, and all of that requires a micro distillery license from the Nebraska Liquor Control Commission, which they control then everything that that person needs to do to be able to do something like that. So if you don't have any questions, I can move on. Okay, utility trailers, we've been discussing these at planning. It was originally in front of you guys as we got it loose, went to planning. Took us probably 2 times through planning, I want to say, Larry, to kind of get it figured out to what we all wanted.
2 or 3.
It adds a new definition, utility trailer. Shall mean a trailer having a gross weight including load therein of 9,000 pounds or less. And then we added a photo, just because it's always nice to be able to point to something and say, hey, this is what we're talking about. Then we also changed the definition of front yard to read, shall mean all that area between the front property line and a line drawn along the front face or faces of the principal structure on the property and extending to the side property lines. So before, our front yard definition only stated the first 25 feet, which doesn't really, doesn't go with the intent of the code, because then if you were set back farther or closer, it didn't really account for that. So this way, this really accounts for existing structures. All the new structures are built with the setbacks. But this is more just stating, hey, your front yard is where from the front of your house to the street, which is, that is the intent of the code anyways, to state that that's your front yard. It just, the way it was written previously, it stated only 25 feet, so you had some, if your house was set back farther than 25 feet, you had some gray, non-defined area, which I'm trying to remove those in all of these. So that's where the clarification comes on front yard. Moving on. So we have got, you guys have seen this before, this is our commercial design standards. Of course, you can triple, quadruple check it, read it over and over again, and then you read it on one time a day, and all of a sudden you realize you missed something. So the intent of this was written that metal buildings were allowed, but they just had to comply to the percentages of brick, block, or stone, which is what we all agreed on. I didn't catch the fact that painted R and PBR panels and pre-finished metal panel systems, aluminum composite material panels are allowed, but do not count towards the required percentages stated above. The way it was previously written, it made it sound like it was approved as part of the hard facade, which was never the intent. So I just missed 12 words that needed to be added to that. That's all that is. And what it's doing is matching what the intent of it was. It's just the way it was written, it could have been perceived another way. So this is just cleaning that up to add those, I don't know, 12 words. It's essentially the highlighted number 6. It's that the last part of that sentence of the highlight, ending with here and above and starting with are allowed. That's the only thing I added.
That following one?
Accessory structures
Okay.
is part of this. Accessory building or accessory structure exemption. So this came up. We had someone who built a structure that did not abide by our commercial design standards. And then they tried to get a permit after. It was denied because it didn't match. So then a discussion with a council member came to me and said, hey, do we look at maybe letting people in the commercial district build a small accessory structure that doesn't have to abide by the design standards? And this is what we came up with. Essentially, you can't put up the accessory structure. And by the way, on this 11A, this means all of the following requirements are satisfied, not just one. Every single one has to be hit before I would allow a structure to be put in that doesn't abide by the commercial design standards. So think like where you put sand and salt, for example. That's a concrete and it's got the canvas tent. That wouldn't be allowed for our highway overlay, or excuse me, our commercial design standards. Although there's probably some instances where that would be allowed. So just to run through it, the primary structure has been final. They're not allowed to build this first and then say, oh, we ran out of money, we can't build the primary structure now. That wouldn't be allowed. Primary structure has to be finalized. The total footprint of this accessory structure is 10% or less than the total footprint of the primary structure. So they can't build a little primary structure and then build this huge thing that's not to our design standards. No occupancy shall be allowed in the accessory structure and building. No plumbing or electrical shall be allowed. Any accessory structure shall only be used for dead storage, as to be defined as safekeeping or holding of warehouse goods, said warehouse goods to be removed at a later date. Any accessory structure building shall only be used in connection with the specific commercial use of the lot and shall be not leased, rented to any third party. No accessory structure / building shall be visible from the street. This building shall be engineered. It's in a commercial district. It would have to be anyways, but we just wanted to put it in there. And a conditional use permit must be obtained for any accessory structure building. So not only would they have to abide by all of these, you guys would see them again through a conditional use permit. So again, there's a lot in here, but really trying to remove the gray zone of that. And that was 2 sessions, Larry, or maybe even 3 to try and figure out exactly what we all wanted to see on it, so. And then we've got the last one regarding storage of any boat trailer, camp trailer, recreational vehicle, and utility trailer. We added that. We have then, most of it follows the same, maybe placed on concrete, asphalt, or maintain crushed rock. We added that per the planning commission, and even council, I think, was discussed about it briefly when we first brought it up. This section applies only to personal storage. For purpose of this section, maintain shall mean not less than 100% crushed rock. And any such maintained crushed rock surface pad shall be counted against any impervious coverage requirements. Any maintained crushed rock surfacing pad must be larger than the footprint of the vehicle or trailer being stored there. So that's pretty much what we've gotten. Pretty much all we changed was utility trailers being allowed to be stored with the definition that we have up here, and the fact that it's allowed to be stored on crushed rock and not on concrete or asphalt, which is how it was defined before as hard surfaced.
Okay,
So that's everything on that one.
are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay.
I went through every page.
Okay. All right. We will open the public hearing for that then. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this?
I understand, Cole Willoughby for 22 Main. I understand this whole, the trailers and the utility trailers, the boats being, it's legal for them to maintain, they can go on rock, the crushed rock and things like that. I was wondering how that would, cross into, you know, like cars in our city. Like
Residential?
yes.
Yeah, there's completely separate ordinances and code for cars. This is just changes to the utility trailers and boats.
Well, I'm just asking if, people are, can we use crushed rock just like, the trailers
You
and
can
stuff?
take that offline with Rune, because that doesn't relate to anything that's in this ordinance for the public hearing. So Rune would be your contact for that after the fact.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this item?
Jason Foster, 28607 State Street. Just with the change to the utility trailers, anyone who's in that gray area right now, will they be notified with enough notice that this is changing and they're gonna have to accommodate?
So my plan is to create a little 8.5 by 11, just something that we can put out to constituents. Hey, are you storing a boat, a trailer, or an RV? If so, these are our new regulations. This is how to remain compliant. It's in the side yard, backyard. This is kind of what it looks like. Here's an example corner lot. Here's an example straight lot. We'll talk about impervious coverage, stuff like that. Come see me if you're looking to put in a pad. That way we can check the impervious percent. All of that will be, I'm gonna put something together, hopefully easy to digest.
So notification will take place.
Exactly,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Yes, and of course, if anyone ever has questions, just give me a call and I can discuss it.
Okay, I'm just looking at the people who may, we're in compliance now, but oh boy, or not.
Pretty much the only thing that this would do is if you were out of compliance due to a utility trailer, you are now in compliance. This isn't,
Technically, you couldn't have a utility trailer
right.
before, at all.
That's
In any of that gray.
That's where we started this conversation. So
Yeah.
essentially, this doesn't put anyone in violation. It would just remove certain people. There are quite a few utility trailers around town that are out of compliance. And this would just give them a concrete, hey, this is what you're allowed to do. Concrete asphalt, crushed rock.
Okay.
So yeah, my plan is to put something together here, hopefully tomorrow if I have some time, but if it's approved, to kind of clean this up and let them know.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on this topic? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Okay, so then we are gonna follow this process we have here. This is 8 pages, so I'm sure nobody wants to read it anyway. The next item is ordinance number 806. I would entertain a motion to introduce ordinance number 806 on the first reading. Somebody wanna make that motion?
Make a motion ordinance 806.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second introducing ordinance number 806 on the first reading. Is there any other discussion by the council?
I do have one thing going
Okay.
off Cole. Do we allow crushed rock driveways right now? Is there anything that states that?
So we talked about these gray areas, right? So the way that it's currently written in residential, if you park a vehicle, it has to be on concrete or asphalt. It has to be parked on a hard surface, and hard surface is defined as concrete or asphalt.
Okay, is that gonna be in next month's, what, I guess, technically, if you can park this on, the way this reads, it has to be so big, it might as well be a driveway. If you can park your car there, but right now we have nothing saying you can't park your car on crushed rock.
So we do have something that states that you can't. Then this is reserved to the side and rear yard. So the intent is to quote unquote provide or protect the integrity of the front yard, people driving down the street, right? Now, currently how it's written is if you're doing any sort of parking in residential, it has to be on concrete or asphalt. That's it. Now, we have certain people that only have rock driveways, right?
my assumption is they're gonna be grandfathered in, right? And that's not stated anywhere, that's me just trying to come up with something based on nothing. That, hey, if you are grandfathered in, it would be really bad, in my opinion, for the city to force you to come in and pave your driveway, right? That's
How much a yard of concrete is now.
exactly. So the way that I've kind of, the thought process is if you have a concrete drive existing, you have to park on that. Then the concrete, the hard surface, would be, that would be enforced. If you have concrete drive, the intent of the code is that you park on that concrete drive with vehicles. We've just amended this, that if you're in your side or your rear yard, you could theoretically put gravel down, you could put your boat, you could put your utility trailer, you could put your RV, you couldn't put your vehicle. That's how it's currently written.
We can talk, I think that we need to change that to, for rear and side yard.
To allow, yeah, I mean, that's totally fine, I just,
Because if I got my truck hooked up to my trailer in the backyard, I'm not in compliance.
bingo, right, and that's where, again, some of these, we have a couple houses in Old Town where they were parking on grass, but there used to be a driveway there, but it was all rock, they never had concrete, so I made the decision to say, okay, you're allowed to re-rock because you did have rock here, but you just have to make sure that you have rock that you're parking on and maintain. Again, that's only for these specific lots that just have rock. There's a concrete pad there, that is your parking spot, currently how it's written. So you let me know, of course, we can meet up and discuss changing something, no problem. We'll go through planning, go through here, I'll pay my $20 to American Legal, if it gets approved, then we'll change it. So,
Sounds good.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Christie, will you read the short title of the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 806, an ordinance to amend existing sections of the City of Valley zoning regulations relating to storage of utility trailers, addressing micro distilleries, relating to design standards for commercial areas, providing for an effective date of this ordinance, providing for a severability clause, and providing for the repeal of all ordinance in conflict herewith. Be it ordained by the mayor and the city council of the City of Valley, Douglas County, Nebraska, as follows.
Thank you.
I have one question. Can we separate them two? One's a distillery and the other is a utility trailer.
It's just a matter of putting it in the same ordinance, and then it goes in the code section in the right section.
Separated
It
in the
is,
code.
but it should have a little code in it, doesn't it?
It's under the definition section, so it'll get input into its alphabetical once it's in.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't
will
show,
be later.
yeah, it won't show up.
Yeah, because you read this, we got it as a distillery and a trailer.
No, it will be separated. Utility trailer will have its own spot in all the U's. Micro distillery will have its own spot in all the M's and alphabetical.
Okay, so Christie has read that, so now we need a vote on the first reading. All in favor? Is there a desire to suspend the rules and pass the ordinance on second and third readings?
So moved.
Okay, is there any further discussion? No? All right, vote please. 3 in favor. Ordinance number 806 passes on the second and third readings. Okay, number 14, conditional use permit Sam and Emily Wagaman for a school at 28909 Garvin Road. Rune, you gonna review this?
Yep, well, at least the first part, they're more than welcome to speak on their end. Just on the building and zoning side, planning commission reviewed this, it's transitional ag. They're allowed to put this use is allowed under a conditional use permit. Per the meeting we had with planning, this conditional use with these bullet points was created. The important part, so this was all discussed beforehand. It was just now put into writing. Even before we had the planning meeting with the potential owners of this property, these discussions were had. Specifically, all buildings to be done to currently adopted ICC code. Again, I would require that anyways for a permit, but let's just put it in here. And the occupancy classification group E shall be used in design. So this means that it would be designed to all the code for a school, even though they don't, per Nebraska law, they're not defined as a school. Per building code, I believe it should be designed as a school. Again, there's gonna be kids in there, they're gonna be learning. It's essentially a school in terms of safety. In terms of what's happening there, that's not for me to decide, but this is specifically stating that they would have to design to these safety standards. Any changes to the well and or septic will require a Douglas County Health and Safety permit. They would have to do that anyways, but let's just state it in here so we all know. 3 and 4 and 5 are specifically with Douglas County. So a signed agreement between property owners and Douglas County Department of Roads needs to be submitted before the building permit will be issued. What this agreement would state is between the owners of the property and Douglas County, they are signing an agreement to pave up and around their property. And then final certificate of occupancy will not be granted until the owner's portion of the payment is received by Douglas County Department of Roads for the above mentioned agreement. So essentially how Douglas County works is you pay for half of it, we pay for half of it. So this in number 4 states, hey, I'm not gonna give you your final inspection until the money is in Douglas County's hands, because that's when they then put it in for it's 2024, their 2025 paving. Their 2024 is already done, they already have it set up. So this would be next year, they would pave it. Any new or revised driveway connections from the property to Garvin Road or 288th Street will require a permit from Douglas County. Again, making sure they're not too close to the curve, following all of Douglas County's culvert, all their stuff would have to be designed. Again, they get a permit through them. I would just check the permit. And then the fire marshal shall review plans, do required inspections, and grant maximum occupancy for the building. So actually, the fire marshal will grant the CO. I don't. It's the same with commercial structures. I don't actually grant the final CO. It's the fire marshal, because that's the end all be all. There's a fire, everyone needs to be able to get out, and that's what he's gonna check. So I'm gonna turn that over to Ty from the Nebraska Fire Marshal. The exhibit 1 shows the letter today from the engineer at Douglas County. The one, he put in 1 and 3, but those 2 items are what is written in our conditional use. Just stating again, the agreement with Douglas County, they have to do payment, all of this. And then actually exhibit 2 shows the emails back and forth today that I had with Jeff Schersberg from Douglas County, referencing the letter he sent, referencing the iterations I had of conditional use items, making sure that he was okay with what we had in there. And then he was also, at the very last email there, he stated they were comfortable with the driveway locations shown in the site plan, which is exhibit 3. So they would still have to get a permit for this site plan, but they did review this, I should re-say that. They don't review the site plan, they review the driveway, and they're okay with it here. Now, of course, they still have to get a permit, they would still have to go through that process, but this has been reviewed, this entrance has been reviewed with Douglas County. So, if you guys have any questions for me regarding the building permit zoning.
What do they think they're gonna have for occupancy?
So that is dependent on, I know they've talked about it, that is completely dependent on the building codes, and the fire marshal. So if they build a structure that can only hold 60, that's the fire marshal, that's the max occupancy, that's 60. If they build a building that can hold 120, then that's the max occupancy. So that's less, I suppose that's maybe more a question for them. For me, as long as they are designing to hold appropriate occupancy on my end, that's what I'm concerned about. And doing these steps will ensure that they are doing that. And if they go over a certain amount, they have to sprinkler, they have to do all this stuff. So now that again, that's all code. So yeah, their maximum
Does
occupancy.
the fire marshal have a sprinkler system in there as well?
It depends on size. So certain sizes require it. Again, for commercial review, that's why I farmed that out. to that company, Chelmscotta, because it gets very in the weeds. And I don't trust myself to review commercial plans to the detail that's required to make sure that they're done correctly. So whoever submits a commercial permit to me has to go through this company that has people that literally write the codes and review for a living. They have all the stars and the stripes and everything that make them better at what they do than I would. So they would review it and make sure, hey, if it's over this amount, you gotta put in sprinklers, all this stuff. So that's all covered on the building permit side.
Okay, anything else for Rune? Okay, Sam or Emily, do you guys wanna come up and talk about the request? That's probably is he gonna make you talk again, maybe?
No, yeah, she's better at it than me. My name is Sam Wagaman, this is my wife Emily Wagaman. Our address is 20950 State Street in Elkhorn.
We can tell you a little bit about the school. So we're in year 3 of our school. Started just as a small school, homeschool co-op. So all of our families that are register under Rule 13 with Nebraska. So we register as a homeschool. We're unique a little bit, but not the only one in Omaha. There's several out there like us that we hire. We are under this rule, but so a very big part of our child's education, but we also hire certified teachers to teach and we pay them. So we just all meet at this common space. We've grown very quickly. We were subleasing a space in Elkhorn and we've grown out of that space. And so we were looking for somewhere to build a space and this property came up and here we are.
Do you guys have any questions for Sam or Emily?
Do you guys have, because I was sat through your initial, I thought you guys were gonna use the existing building out there.
We are. We're gonna use both. So the existing building that's there, we're not gonna do much to on the inside, but then we'll put this new structure up as well. So the existing building will kind of be like where the teachers have offices and things like that.
Is all the funding for this been secured or is everything?
It is something that's in the works, yes.
Okay, anybody else?
Paving, the whole thing from the highway 2 years and back out.
Yeah,
Yes.
for Douglas County, yes.
Per county.
Yeah, that's what the county stated, paved.
Yeah, but both sides.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I just don't want the one we got one side.
No, it's, I wanna say it was 24 feet wide, asphalt.
It's, yeah, asphalt.
Yeah. So both lanes, shoulder, all the way through the corner to the end of their property. At least that's what, yeah.
One of the things I think that was brought up earlier by someone was our size. And one of the things that we value very much is very small class sizes. We just feel like when there's a small class size that students are able to really learn at their best and teachers can focus in and just assess the students' learning on a day-to-day basis. And so our max class size is 15 per class. We're kindergarten through 8th grade. So we have teachers in addition to those class sizes, but I'm not the best at math, but 150 probably would be the max of, bodies in there.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
What about the sewer system?
Oh, I'm gonna bring the builders up.
Bring the experts up.
Greg Frizzell, 20818 Sheffield. As far as the sewer system is concerned, we'll have it tested. We have an engineer that will test for septic system, and it'd have to pass what Douglas County Health Department states. So those requirements, and it'll be sized based upon the design of the building. So.
Design building and people
I'm
and
sorry.
people in it.
Absolutely, occupancy.
That's the biggest thing.
That'd be the biggest thing. Yep.
So the code is gonna require X amount of bathroom fixtures, sinks, toilets. That creates DFU, drainage fixture units, which will then read directly into the size of well and septic. A sink draws X amount of gallons, the entire building is gonna require X amount of water and septic, which again, Douglas County Health and Safety is gonna review all of that based on the engineered plans. To code.
And there will be a perk test that'll be done prior to us applying for the permit. So even with Douglas County coming out and sizing it, they'll test the soil and make sure that groundwater and all of that's adequate. If there's a engineered mound system that's required, I mean, that'd be engineered, and then again, it'd be passed by Douglas County. So we wouldn't go forward with anything without that.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Did planning commission have any questions that we haven't asked?
What's that?
Did you guys have any questions that we haven't asked?
I think we talked about traffic study and again, that's back with Douglas County, if they require it. And then everything rules gone through, came from our meeting, and we approved it. Recommend to city council approve it, I should say.
Okay. Any other questions for that? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will open the public hearing now. First, I want to enter into record an email that you all received yesterday, Monday, March 11th at 4:52 from Mr. Boucher with his comments opposing approval of the homeschool permit. So if you guys all received that, just as note that we're entering it into the record. All right, public hearing. Anybody want to come up and speak? Come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Wendy Dean, 207 North Spruce Street, Valley. I just would like the couple to come up and tell people, I was at the Planning Commission meeting, and I thought it was very interesting. They were talking about the days of school, the hours, the community service the students would do. I thought that was always, it really kind of swayed me on how I felt about it coming to our community and what an asset it would be. I wondered if they could come up and share some of that.
Thanks, Wendy. You had great food at your restaurant when you had it, I think it's supposed. Anyway, Brett and Jenny Harris put us onto that. Anyway, so our school runs 8:15 to 2:30, Monday through Thursday is academics. And then on Fridays, we have a day called Freedom Fridays. And on that day, that's where kids take their learning. And, you know, we always say we don't want kids to just pass 2nd grade or 7th grade. We want kids to become good citizens and, you know, just good people and future saints. We are a Catholic. We teach the Catholic religion at our school. And so Monday through Thursday is academics, and then Friday is this Freedom Friday. And they rotate, so some Fridays look like a day of service. So they've gone to Cope and Elkhorn and, you know, stocked the shelves, sorted the clothes. We've gone down to the Heart Ministry Center. We did a park cleanup recently. They've done all sorts of, they go to the care center and play bingo with, and make crafts and things like that. They had a good game of hot potato going the other day there. They also do a faith day where they'll do tomorrow we're flip-flopping our day, or Wednesday for our Friday, and going to Mass and Stations of the Cross at the Cloisters of the Platte. Then some Fridays are life skills. So parents come in for a lot of those, and we teach them different skills that parents have. So I teach them bread baking and sourdough baking. My mom comes in and helps. And a dad comes in and taught them how to sharpen the blade on a mower and change the filter out. They've learned gardening. They have done woodworking and plumbing type things. So it's just a day to take all of their learning and then put it to practice, and that gets their learning to go from their head to their heart, and then they kind of start to realize what their passion in life is and what God created them to be and do. And so they kind of go through life kind of having more direction with that. Was there something else you asked that I didn't answer yet? Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, one more thing. So Nebraska requires 1,000 hours of learning, or 1,040. And one of our biggest things is parents are the first educators of their child. So we cover 900 of those hours, and then 140 of those hours are left to the parent to do at home, and they can do that in the way they choose. It might be violin lesson, or they're working on math extra, whatever the parent, being the first educator, believes is best for their learning. So we really stress and really have a lot of parent volunteering, a lot of community engagement, and I don't know, there's a lot of joy at our school. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else like to speak?
Job security.
I like that.
27. Did you bring in popcorn?
No, I might have.
We did. Oh, great. How'd you do it?
Did you want me to go up there first? Make sure you say your name and address for the record.
Yes, I am Lexi Johnson, 29049 Garvin Road. I am the adjacent neighbor. Okay, I made a little presentation because I think it's a little easier for everybody to kind of understand. My husband and I have been in the community out there. We call ourselves as a little community, we are. We've been out there for almost 8 years now. There's a few of us that have been out there the longest, and then the rest of them are kind of newer to the area. I'm going to talk about a couple points, obviously things that were brought up in the first meeting. There was traffic, road conditions, property concerns, safety, additional buildings, lack of community benefit, and then of course their LLC. We're going to move straight into traffic. I know in the first meeting there was supposed to be a traffic study done. I work from home, obviously. I have not seen a traffic study yet. I know if they say there's 150 students, let's say top end, everybody drives their own kid. I obviously know that that's not the case. There's multiple children in the home. But that would be over like 600 trips each day. But now we're hearing that we're paving the road, but that still doesn't answer any of the questions here around State Street, around Valley Shores, and at the two intersections shown here. Obviously, the intersection, because the demographic is coming from Omaha and Elkhorn, the demographic would be there coming off of 275, in front of Dollar General, in front of Valley Shores, off State Street to 288. State Street's a very quiet family homes. Obviously, they built there and they live there for a reason. They wanted to be next to a golf course. It's quiet, right? My thing is the RV park was denied due to traffic. What's the difference here? There's more traffic with this than there would have been with the RV park. I'm going to go into some of the road conditions here. This picture here, and I will tell you if there is a picture from the flood. There will be one. This is not from the flood. This is North 288 looking south on a seasonal. This was in the spring. This is what our road looks like. The lack of material on the road is an abundant issue, obviously. Now hearing that they're planning to pay for half of the road, it sounds like, obviously would clear up the last issue. But again, the lack of taxes that are now paying for that if this road doesn't get fixed or Garvin doesn't get fixed. Who's paying for that? I'm going to show you a couple other pictures. Again, these are not from the flood. This is just every year, every single year. Obviously, you can see that you're not going down it, you're not going up it, you're going to go around it. So this is North 288. Where are you going to go? You're going to go around it to 294. Well, this is what that looks like. I live on Garvin. I'm smack dab in the middle. I haul horses all the time. I show all over the United States. I pull a 6-horse trailer, and I got to get through that too. and now you're gonna put a bunch of cars. I mean, that's just, it's insane. It's like literally on the verge of insane. The care for the roads is so poor. You can pave the road, but then that takes me to my next point. If you're gonna pave the road, here's the snow, obviously, that was a whole nother issue. We couldn't leave, get in or out for 3 or 4 days. This was Garvin, it was all the way up to our fence. You weren't moving, you weren't going anywhere. Obviously, I understand that they're not going to school those days, but again, what are you doing with the snow? It's running off, it's creating those problems we saw before. If we have a seasonal rain after, like we have in the past. Let's see. This is north of their property where they are planning to put the building at. This would be literally directly north of it where the waterway goes through. That is literally my husband standing on the edge of it. If he were to, I don't know that he could walk through it in boots, he would have probably needed waders. This is north of my property on the waterway, or this is north of that property too, just a little to the left, so it's right where my property and this property's property line is, I guess you could say. That whole pasture is completely flooded as well. And that, again, is not from the flood, this is just seasonal precipitation. Now I'm gonna show you a picture from the flood. So this was the easiest way to kind of show you where the waterways go. So I'm gonna kind of point for you. So this is obviously our property here. There's this waterway and there's a culvert here. There's this waterway and there's a culvert here. There's another culvert where they're saying that they will put the entrance in technically what I'm understanding as a loop, but I'm not really sure how that would work since that's the lowest part of the property. So where does the water go? It runs onto the Lumas and then it goes down to Valley Shores, goes into the ditches down there. But how are you gonna put an easement there at the lowest point of the property? I mean, it's almost insane to think that that's where you're going to try to put an entrance. And this is of course at the flood, the worst point in time, but this shows you where the water goes naturally all the time. This is just of course at its worst. I think unless you have lived out there, you really don't understand it. I will tell you from complete honesty, I'm from Bennington, I'm like from the hill property. We don't flood, I had no idea. I didn't know what water was, we have water in our creeks, that is it. No, we have water every year, all year, unless we are in a severe drought. Our roads look like this constantly flooded, always an issue.
So how are you gonna build a school and get people to and from if it's always underwater? Have you thought about
they say
different
that you can speak next. We'll do one person at a time during the public hearing. Thank you.
They say they're gonna pave it, but the problem is, so if you pave the road, you're going to bring up the road. Okay, so then where does the water go? Onto our properties now, and it stops. And then on my property is flooded even more. Mooma's property is flooded even more. Bill Snyde's property is flooded even more. And now Owen's property is backed up on the hill. All of the adjacent neighbors are extremely affected by water. So again, I asked about septic size with, population of what's happening in the school, how many, you're saying 150 with 30 or so. I'll tell you from experience, a perk test, they don't come back. You don't get one. We found one place on our entire property for a perk test, one. So I don't, the current water source on the property is one working well. I can't imagine that would be sufficient for kids. The building, parking, pickup, drop off, again, I kind of explained that in the last picture. How are you gonna not disrupt the flow of water? How are you not gonna disrupt the actual traffic that's coming and going? Not just from my property, but everybody else. The Army Corps of Engineers, obviously, the natural waterways, and if you're planning to bring in natural gas, I don't know. Those are all things that you guys would have to figure out. But again, how are you getting those there? Here again are more pictures. So this is looking at their property from mine. This is again a normal spring, and again there's the water. And then the picture on the right is actually where you guys are trying to put your driveway. So, and there's a culvert there. So I don't know unless you're going to put like a overpass, maybe, to go over that. I'm just not really sure. But that would be a Corps of Engineer problem. I can tell you from experience that We're so affected by water in the area, and I disrupted 0.08 of a natural waterway, and I was immediately told to stop and tear it out. And all we did was try to put an outdoor riding arena. We didn't try to block anything, we tried to put an outdoor riding arena with drain tile and culvert underneath, and that wasn't allowed. So to put a school and a driveway and a pickup lane, that just seems crazy. Again, this is where that is planning to happen. I do know a point was kind of made last time when we were in here. I know Mike Burns stood up and supported the idea. I also realize his child attends, but my problem with that is Mike Burns and I've had many conversations with myself and my husband about you can't put something there. You can't, I'm so sorry, you just can't. You will disrupt the natural flow of water. You will block the flow of water from your neighbors. The runoff is a problem. Just don't do it. Find a different location, is what I was told. So we did. We found different locations for the things on our property. We found a different location for our addition. We found a different location for our outdoor. It didn't disrupt any of this. Student faculty safety, obviously fire is a big deal for everyone. So we unfortunately 2 falls ago, so last October, we were in the same situation of a fire. The field south of us, they were harvesting and started on fire in 4 different places. It took the fire department almost 20 minutes to get to us. If that were a school, how is that gonna happen? There's no fire hydrants, if you're not gonna pump city water out, how are you planning to handle that with 1 well, maybe 2 wells? Still not enough water to me, not for my child. The next thing we talk about, storm shelters. Obviously, if they're being proposed, storm shelters are happening. Fencing, I don't think fencing has been talked about by them at all. We have livestock fencing to block properties, obviously because we were touching other livestock. That was never talked about. Are they planning to put a 6-foot privacy fence all the way around the property to keep children in and keep children out? Obviously, for insurance reasons, I would assume liability. So I'm not willing to be liable for that, unfortunately. There's seasonal aerial spraying, there's farm chemicals. For us as neighbors, again, the liability, the trespassing, the large equipment moving, that quantity of children I can tell you right now, as much as you say they all will be watched, they are not all going to be watched at all times. There's the water in the city of Valley. I know it's a touchy subject, but that's if you're gonna pick that in, that's what you're getting. I wouldn't want my child on it. We're gonna talk about the current grading plan to accommodate floodplain and runoff again, same thing as the road. Again, what are you doing for that? If we put the road in, we're raising the road up, where's that water going? Who are you now putting that water on? What are you doing for a playground? Again, what are we doing for fencing? What are your drop-off pickup? How is that working there with the water problem? Where's your parking for 30 people? Where are you gonna put all this in 6 acres with a pond and a natural waterway and an existing 2 buildings? So to me, there's a huge lack of community benefit. It's a costly private denominated school. There's 0 tax benefits for the city. Obviously, benefit if you would like to send your child and if you were accepted. The student population is currently all from Elkhorn and Omaha. They don't even live in the city. Who will cover the absence of taxes? It's just more agricultural ground being torn up. Why hasn't the school been marketed and campaigned within the community? And then again, the lack of community support. If you go on Facebook, you'll read all about it. I don't like social media that much, but it's just been brought to my attention. They currently own parcels on 209th and Rainwood and 209th and State. Those seem like adequate acres to put such a school at. Me personally, I'm sure a few agree. Size, location, it's off pavement for traffic, closer to local fire and police, the potential for city water and sewer, closer location for current student demographic, and adequate size for potential growth and retreats. Retreats were brought up in the last one as well. That seems like a pretty adequate size and adequate, place for a school to be built. And I guess maybe me as a mother, a woman, I'm a little disappointed too. I come from a very small town, when it was small, where we came and met our neighbors, we shook each other's hands. I've yet to meet anyone. They have yet to been to the property. I've seen them maybe 3 times since they purchased the property. There was no snow removal this winter. It was called melting. I just would expect more from them. Like, me personally, like, I would go shake my neighbor's hand. Hey, this is my name. How are you? Welcome to the community. They've had a chance since the last meeting to do that, and I still didn't get that, to maybe help change my mind. Help me feel better about it. But with all these points, I'm not going to feel better about it, and then that makes me feel worse that I still don't feel anything back towards you. And I'm not saying you have to be friends with all your neighbors, but if you're planning to put a school with how many people at it, you should probably like your neighbors a lot. So, and that's it. I appreciate you, Jen.
Greg Frizzell, excuse me, Greg Frizzell, 20818 Sheffield. In the meeting, actually, it just came to my attention. Came back to my attention. I apologize. In the meeting with Douglas County, we were discussing the water that was on the road, and there's this really cool map, this GIS map that actually shoots the elevations of all of the surrounding areas. And there is a pond that's it's a man-made pond that's just to the north of that waterway that we're talking about. And its elevation is actually higher than the road. And so it's not allowing the water to go into the pond to drain onto our property. So it has to go over the road. And so I asked the county if they could open that up to where that water is allowed to go, not to touch the pond, it's just in the right of way, but that will actually open it up. He said, yeah, we could open that up. Would you take that water on? And I said, well, obviously, I mean, we don't want that water on the road. So I just thought, I mean, I know that that's a big concern. Everybody's talked about that. And it sounds like, I mean, we just kind of saw that was there and it was a potential fix. So whether or not this goes through or not, that could, be an option for what happens to get that water off the road. So thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak?
Owen Cobus, 29040 Garvin. I guess that would be my pond. That I'm unaware of altering. It's not much of a pond.
I didn't say that you altered it, it's just that you can see the elevation. They said that the rim of the pond is sitting higher than the road. So the water, when the water hits that side of the property, it's forced over the road. And so he said, well, we can actually open it up. I mean, this was the county, we were just looking at it to talking about.
I didn't put it there, but by looking at it, there are culverts that go in and out of it. So it's truly to slow down the water and act as a collection pond.
But it goes over the road.
Yeah. So I can tell you that I've lived there before that pond happened. Actually, Mark Bitzel did that. Sorry, that was before you. I lived there when that happened, and all those pictures were prior to him doing that.
Okay.
He did that right before he sold it to try to make.
Thank you.
Yes, he tried to give you more, so there you go.
But it didn't work.
It did not work.
No,
And I guess while I'm here, they're only paying for half the road, is that right? Who's responsible for the other half?
Douglas County.
Will they assess the adjacent landowners? Just the rest of us?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
We're Purple County.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How many employees do you have to go out to your?
So during peak season, roughly 25, which is, I believe, about the same number of teachers. So.
I mean, how do they get, if the road's always underwater, how do they get out there?
To be honest, we haven't been there in a high water year. We only moved out there in 21. Since then, it's been pretty dry. But same issues we gotta go around. During the snow this winter, I had to personally plow the road for my employees, for myself, for my equipment to get in and out. Which is a little bit embarrassing, but that's what we had to do to
Just to
continue
clarify, that's a
operations.
county road, so that doesn't have anything to do with the city, just to clarify that.
But I'm just gonna bring it up here because we
Yeah, no,
are
that's
the
fine.
city and I saw the city trucks out there clearing it for the county.
Yeah,
So-
they did that when the county couldn't get there.
I do appreciate those guys and all the time they put in.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak?
Jason Foster, 28607 State Street. Just a quick question. If this gets moved forward today, does that mean the city of Valley is pretty much done on the approval and now we're gonna rely on the county for having them meet all the ordinances? Or do we come back into play?
So this is just the first step in the process. They still have to go through me. So the reason that Douglas County is brought up is because that's Douglas County's road.
Correct.
So the only thing that Douglas County cares about is the road and then their driveway from their road into their property. Once it breaks that plane of property, that's on the building inspector.
Okay.
So their permits,
And so whether it be you or be the county, if this gets approved today and move forward, then we're pretty much done. They just have to follow whatever ordinances are out
and
there.
everything that we put in here, and if we wanted to add something, we absolutely could, and then they would still have to abide by that, or they'd be in violation, then we'd be seeing them in court.
Right.
So.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I think it's important to note too that, I mean, obviously there's a lot of things that are already zoned for transitional ag that are permitted that somebody could just go and put up without having to get any approvals but a building permit.
Correct.
I don't know, do you wanna go through that list just so we have that for?
Yeah, do you have, I didn't pull one for myself.
I printed the one that you
Okay.
have, that one. Just for a comparison, I know that traffic and parking and everything has been brought up, but I do want everyone to realize that there's a lot of things that would be absolutely permitted in this area without having to come to us. And they would probably also bring a lot or more depending on what it is, so.
Correct, you want me to go through every single one that is permitted?
How many is there? I don't know.
There's probably, I would say 40 shooting from the hip.
Probably not, but there's a lot.
Maybe like 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Let me just
I
run-
mean, maybe some of the ones that might create the same amount of traffic, just for a comparison point here.
So, a winery vineyard is permitted, no conditional use. Agricultural implement and vehicle sales and service, so you could be selling tractors, anything, whatever out there. Obviously, the lot's a little small, but it would absolutely be permitted, no conditional use. Of course, I would still have to do everything I need to do, but it wouldn't come in front of you guys. There's bed and breakfast, a group home, all permitted, would not require conditional use. Animal shelters, the public library or museum, so Dave's still here. Which again, there's probably some traffic involved with that. Public works facilities, including storage, maintenance areas. Again, theoretically, someone else could buy this, do that. Animal shelter, animal hospital, funeral homes, garden centers with sales to the public, all would be permitted without conditional use. Construction yards, including offices and equipment storage, excluding heavy machinery. So you could put your construction company out there, trailers, skid loaders, excavators. Heavy machinery means like cranes and scrapers would be the only things that wouldn't be allowed in there. Again, permitted, no conditional use.
Rune, I have a question.
Yeah.
You're saying all this would be allowed out there. How come she could not build an arena?
So
I don't understand the difference.
So that would go with wetlands. So Army Corps of Engineer, it's a 404 or a 408. 404, which I would make them do when they would pull their permit. The Army Corps of Engineer comes out, they delineate where the wetlands is at, and they state, hey, it's here. Again, I'm not an engineer, I'm not part of the Army Corps. I believe they allow you to move it under certain circumstances. I don't know, again, I'm not an engineer, but the Army Corps of Engineers through that 404 permit would assess the lot and say, hey.
They were the ones that denied her.
That would be my assumption. I wasn't here. Oh, yes, Greg is saying yes. Yeah. So-
Michael Burns denied him?
Yes.
No, well, it was with the Corps.
It was the Corps. So it's same as if the Corps came back to me and said, hey, these guys want to build this here and they can't, I would deny it based on the Army Corps of Engineers
Alright.
404 permit. So that's, I'm assuming, again, I wasn't here, but he's shaking his head yes. So when Army Corps of Engineer 404 was initiated, it stated that there was wetlands. And again, building in wetlands becomes very tricky. So,
And their land isn't in the wetland area.
I don't know. I mean, there is some, again, that's for them to prove to me, not the other way around. So that's what that 404 would
It
prove.
almost seems to me it'd have to be.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, it's just where it is specifically.
So they could get denied by the Army Corps.
Sure.
Well, why don't we go to them first before we do anything more?
I mean,
It's kind of like the chicken and the egg thing, like we
Well,
have,
I know.
we have to give some of our approvals before they can start the rest of this stuff.
because I mean, a lot of that stuff takes time and money, and if they don't go through us, why would they do all that work, all that exploratory work, pay for all that, and then come here? Because if it just gets denied here, then they just saved a bunch of money. See what I'm saying? So again, I'm gonna require it. A 404 for the wetland delineation study and remediation if required. Which might be something actually good to add to our conditional use. We can add to it and amend it to state that. I mean, I'm gonna require it anyways, but it's written in there.
No, I think it's something good to have in there. That's something that.
Sure.
When the RV park got denied, it was not for traffic, it was for the permits and the stuff like that.
It was for the permits, FEMA, and all that kind of stuff.
So, that was right when I started, I was dealing with a lot, guys.
It would be good to have it added in there that.
Sure, that the 404, yeah, with the RV park, from what I gather, someone else came in and bought the property and it was kind of just dropped. All these things were discussed, traffic, they were gonna do a traffic study. In fact, I believe they did a traffic study. It wasn't denied due to that.
Yeah, they didn't even get that.
There was some FEMA stuff, there was some safety stuff on my end personally that was gonna go forward, but then the last minute, someone came in, bought the property, and it was just tabled and removed. So,
It's being left as it is.
correct. So, but they were also doing the same thing, 404s, all this stuff. So, and they had obviously a little bit higher use with how many RVs they were gonna put there, but was tabled, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else want to speak for the public hearing, please? Come up, state your name and address for the record at the podium.
Sherry Welton, 1103 Southeast Street. I apologize if I'm not educated on this, but my concern, and I don't know, maybe it's something that's already been planned, but I want to know if they're going to build sidewalk by the new fire station.
We can take that offline. That's not what this public hearing is about.
Okay.
So, yeah, Vroom can answer that one, or Greg.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
All right, anyone else have any comments on this topic? Okay, come up and state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Bill Snide, 2525 East Third Tremont. And I know a lot of those pictures, that's my farm ground you're seeing on both sides. Some of you probably realize that, but first of all, I did have a conversation with Emily. Okay, I initiated a conversation, we had a pretty good conversation. I don't have anything against the school or anything like that. To me, this is not the place for it. This is ag ground, and this road and the water is kind of an issue out there right now. It's dry as a bone, but I don't know if this is a place for the school. I kind of really question what we're doing on this road for drainage and what have you, because this really affects some of what we do, especially if you start looking at 294th Street. And if, we brought up a GIS map for elevations and stuff like that. And if you go back on those maps far enough, you'll find out that the flowway for the water has been altered and you're trying to float water uphill. And that doesn't work so good and it floats onto me instead. And the city, quite frankly, is doing a pretty lax job of cleaning those culverts out down there by the golf course. Those are half, 3/4 plugged up. And and you're talking about kind of trying to improve the drainage on one side, but you got to do something downstream. And if you put the water back where it's supposed to be, I know you're gonna have a whole bunch of people that ain't gonna be too happy about that. Because, you probably know where it's supposed to go. And, in general, like I say, I just don't have much against the school, do what you want to do on that. But I just don't really know if this is the place to be doing it. Because, you know, the guys like me, you know, you guys are talking about asphalt, concrete, crushed rock, park your vehicles on, and my vehicle spent all day on dirt. You know, it's a different world that I live in than what you guys are kind of taking a vote on my world. It's separate, you know, I just kind of really question, you know, what we got here, and I kind of understand that aspect that we gotta, before we can proceed with an engineering study on a road and a few things, we gotta know if we're gonna build a school. But, you know, to me, it's kind of important to know exactly what we plan on doing on some of those kind of things. Like, it seems like all the details are kind of just floating around out here. And, but I guess, you know, it's just, you know, I'm a lifelong resident, you know, it isn't always as wet as what was portrayed there, but it can get that way. And, you know, it's a paved road. I just hope they don't assess the neighbors, you know, we're saying we don't, but I get assessed on a different one, which is kind of, you know, it seems like it's after the fact that this stuff comes up. So anyways, I guess that's my thoughts.
Thank you.
Greg Frizzell, I'll try to be brief. There are two things that I'd like to point out. Number one, the county we did ask about if that was going to be something that was going to be passed on to the neighbors, and they said absolutely not. So it is something that we would have to pay for, that 50% of the portion of the road, and that obviously would come into the agreement. So, I mean, from the neighborly aspect, we did care about that. I mean, last thing we wanted to do was go and say, hey, there's going to be a huge bill that's set in front of or assessed to our neighbors. So that was the first point. Second point, when this piece of property came up on the MLS, it was actually advertised as a school. The building itself was being used she was teaching like rug pulling. It actually has a classroom that's in it. There's a parking lot. It has, the infrastructure was done really well. I mean, the electrical, the ADA bathrooms. So it was fair for us to assume when we were purchasing a school that we weren't really going to upset anybody when we wanted to move a school there. So it's, you know, when we're going through this conditional use permit, the request for it, the initial thought was, hey, temporarily we have this building that we could use that's here, that's existing, but we would need to do a remodel on it. You know, we came to Rune, we let him know what was going on prior to, and we said, we also have this potential to build this building. You know, we own this piece of ground now, and we could build this building that's gonna fit. What do we need to do to fit within the code? I just want to point out that there wasn't anything that we tried to do like under the table. We didn't try to pass over on anything, and if anything, you know, we bought this piece of property under false pretenses because there was a school actively working there. So that's all. Thank you.
Just to speak on that quickly too, I believe what I told Greg was too, if you remodel it, it's gonna need a conditional use, change of use, or, I mean, there was a gray zone, but I was still gonna make them do it because it was going from potentially X amount of people to this new use. So I told you, guess what, if you remodel it, you're gonna have to go through this third party, you're gonna have to design it to group E. The conversation was exactly the same, it's just the design matured as we
Going
went.
through the process, it only makes sense to say, hey, what is the potential for this property? And that's where we're at right now. I mean, so that was all.
Thank you. Tyler?
Tyler Curtis, 223 East Gardner. After listening to all the stuff tonight, half at home and half here once I wanted to see the presentation going on, I just want to say that there's so many checks and balances that go into a big project like this between, you know, the water safety test, how big the well is, all the studies done with that. Then you're talking about, you know, we already mentioned the 404 or whatever it was with the wetlands, which is a huge deal. That is a massive undertaking, and there's a very substantial cost associated with that. So my ask is that for the public that are kind of unaware of what that process looks like when you're going through something like this, especially with a conditional use permit and all the requirements that are needed for that they trust the process, because there is so many checks and balances that go into that. And having the county more involved from the road safety and all the rest of that is just a huge benefit to everyone who's around that project. And just trust the process is my ask. And if you don't trust the process, then go research the process, because they have, even if this goes through tonight, there's a massive long road before anything happens on that ground, with all of the studies and all of the things that need to happen in order for them to get clearance to do anything there. So that's my ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak?
It's intimidating. Hunter Eckert, 29325 Garvin Road. I just want to say I'm all for the expansion of our city. I've lived on this road basically my entire life, and it's been sectioned and parceled the last few years, and we've welcomed a lot of new neighbors and various businesses that has increased the traffic. It's inevitable that at some point they're going to have to use 294th Street, which is the road that wraps around me and my father's place, which is already a dust bowl whenever there's no precipitation. It's every car that passes through is awful. Like if you want to come out and visit and sit there in the evening and just have wave after wave of dust cover everything and breathe that in, which is pretty unhealthy. I'd love to have you do that, as it's inevitable that that's going to happen at some point. I know they said that it's already was a school and that we shouldn't be upset that it is, but I want to reiterate, this is for a conditional use permit of an $850,000 addition to house 150 plus students. So adding on to the adding on to what's there on the 6 acres. So figured I'd say something as I live around, but.
Okay, thank you. I grew up on a farm too. I know about the dust. I don't need to come out there.
Yes, and I want to thank Lexi for putting together the presentation for us.
Thank you. All
I
right.
know what this is.
Can I say something about that being a school? So they said that it was previously.
Right, this is not a debate though. This is
I know,
a
I'm just
public
saying,
hearing.
it was about 8 old ladies every first Saturday of the month, rub hooking for about 4 hours.
Great, thank you. All right, anyone else like to speak on the public hearing? Okay, we are going to close the public hearing. So then the next item on this one is motion for passage of resolution 2024-22. I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-22.
Is this with adding the?
404?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion and then. Motion with it. Jeff.
You need to make a motion to amend first, to add that condition.
So does that go prior to this?
I would make a motion to amend the proposed conditional use permit, because it hasn't been passed yet, to include a condition requiring a 404 process. Okay, and now then you can vote on the amended conditional use permit containing that condition. Okay?
I make a motion, we amend or put in 404 permit to the proposed resolution.
To the conditional use permit.
Conditional use permit.
Is there a second on that?
Read your motion again, I didn't.
I made a motion to add the
Conditions.
yes.
404 permit to the conditions.
The Army Corps of Engineer,
Right.
wetland stuff, yeah.
And one of the comments that you made about that fire, is anybody here from the fire department? The closest water supply is out of limits.
It's not close.
You're right.
It's not close.
Because
It's very
also-
scary. I mean,
Okay,
we
so-
had livestock.
I just don't-
We have the public hearing is done. We have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, vote please. 2 in favor, 1 against. Okay, so then is there a motion to approve resolution 2024-22 with the amendment, conditional amendment that we just added in there. Somebody have a motion to approve that?
I make the motion to approve resolution 2024-22.
That's with all the restrictions that the county would be given.
Yeah.
Okay, second.
All right, is there any additional discussion? We have a motion and a second on the table to approve resolution 2024-22.
My thing is the hoops they have to jump through to build this school, they're gonna have to raise that land, they're gonna have to make sure the water has somewhere to go. We've dealt with it, the RV park's come up a handful of times, that's why it didn't get passed through, because we're not gonna allow it to be built if it's not built correct.
Correct. Any other discussion? Okay, so then we'll have a vote for resolution 2024-22.
One question, if this does get sent to the county, and it comes back to us, we can make the final decision then?
So this one, the way that the conditional use is written currently is that it wouldn't come back to you guys, but I would not grant a building permit until the signed agreement with Douglas County is done. So it's off of your plate and it's onto mine, but it states it specifically in here that Douglas County, they would have to essentially submit it to me as a required submittal, just like the
Any reason
404.
why?
What's that?
Any reason why they?
Because it's in here, it's in the conditional use, I wouldn't grant them a permit without them meeting those requirements that state a signed agreement between Douglas County Roads and the builders to do it, so.
All the conditions that are in the permit would have to be met.
In this conditional use, yeah.
Okay, so now, any other discussion?
You have to approve that motion as amended.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? All right, vote please. 2 in favor, 1 against. Resolution 2024-22 is hereby adopted. Okay, moving on, number 15, people service. Are you giving the people service update? Okay, should I start?
I can give the next part.
Okay, that's great.
Jim Olmsted with Olmsted and Perry. Obviously, Mike's not here. We've met several times, so I'm pretty sure that I can speak for Mike in saying that we're at a point where we're moving forward to close out some of these projects, and we're nearing completion on some of the other ones that aren't to be closed out tonight. The first project is the filter media replacement project. That has reached a stage where we can close that out. And as a result of that, we have several documents that need approval by the council. The first is to approve change order number 3 in the amount of $1,525. This was the last piece of work that was added to the project to require the welding of the control column that had some leaks in it, and they had to wait until they were able to go back online to make that happen. So that's happened, and that's complete. So we would need a motion to approve change order number 3.
You'll have to wait just a minute until when it returns.
Should I go ahead and explain the other ones while we're waiting?
That'd be great.
Okay, we also have a resolution to approve application for payment number 5, which is the final payment to Newbirth Construction, and it's in the amount of $17,458.41. And we've reviewed that work, and that's all in compliance with the contract, and it's our recommendation that we approve that as well. If we do decide to close out the project tonight, we have several documents that go along with that. One is a certificate of substantial completion, which states that the project has been completed in accordance with the approved plans and specifications, and it begins the 2-year warranty on the project. We also have the affidavit of payment of debts and claims from the contractor. And finally, we have the consent of the contractor's surety company that they are approving final payment for the project as well. So going back, the first action would be to approve change order number 3.
Okay, does somebody want to make a motion to approve change order number 3 for $1,525?
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor?
The second item would be to approve resolution 2024-18, which is the final payment to New Earth Construction in the amount of $17,458.41.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 2024-18.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2024-18. Is there any other discussion? No? All right, vote please. All in favor?
And then the last item regarding this project would be a council motion to accept the project and close it out, and to accept the closeout documents.
Okay, so I want to make a motion to accept the certificate of completion.
I make the motion to accept the certificate of completion.
Second.
Vote please. All in favor? Thank you.
All these documents will be sent to the state as well for their concurrence and approval. The other project is the Backwash Waste Recovery Project. That project has reached the point where the contractor is asking for application for payment number 6 in the amount of $265,721.26. We reviewed that work, and it's our recommendation that you approve it as well. We're not ready for closeout on that project. Just to give you a little update, there's a couple pieces of equipment that will not be shipped until April 12th. And so that's going to push completion to May for that project.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-19.
Make a motion, we approve resolution number 2024-19.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve 2024-19. Is there any other discussion? All right, vote please. 3 in favor.
2 other pieces of information. The chemical feed replacement project is nearing completion, and it's close, but it didn't make the council agenda for tonight. So it'll be closed out at your April meeting. And as well as the water tower project, the repainting project, will be closed out at the April meeting. So
Sure hope so.
we all are really hoping for that one. The last piece of item that we will see happening will be the painting of the logo on the tank. And we're waiting for a word that they're ready to put the stencils up so we can take a look at them and make sure that they're orientated right and are the correct size. So that's lots of that.
How come they're rolling that on versus spraying?
Well, rolling, they'll get a little heavier coating of paint on it than they will by spraying. And they've had some issues with wind. Wind's been a problem. So, okay.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks, Jim. Anybody have any other questions for Jim? All right, city engineer.
Good evening. The first item on the agenda tonight is the Ginger Cove Lift Station number 3. This is the one near the covered bridge. The contractor did get the pumps and piping installed on that about 2 weeks ago. So we just have a progress payment for this in the amount of $25,904.70. They are coordinating with OPD for a power outage and also with Jetco to get the programming done on the control panel that has been here. So that's what is waiting to get all coordinated with that. So we hope to have this ready for closeout next month in April, and this lift station project will be complete, but this takes us to about 75% of the current contract value.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-20.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve that resolution. Is there any discussion? All right, vote please. All in favor, resolution 2024-20 is hereby adopted.
And then continuing, we have Stillwater Phase 2. This is lots 25 through 49, I believe. This is done by Thompson Construction. They have completed their work. They were actually waiting for, one, the water tower, when they got back in line, they could finish their acceptance testing, and then also coordinating with the infrastructure work that was done on phase 1 to get done so that they could finish their work. But tonight we do have their final change order amount and the deduct amount of $14,979.50. Having reviewed that, we do recommend a motion to approve and accept that change order.
Doesn't decrease very often.
Yeah, we had to remove a couple hundred feet of pipe because the developer has not actually got his 404 permit through the quarry yet, so we did pull a sewer segment out of there right now, so.
Okay. So we want to make a motion to approve change order number 1.
I make a motion, we approve change order number 1.
Second.
Vote please. 3 in favor.
And then correspondingly, we do have their final pay app number 4 in the amount of $25,941.91. And that is their final payment and all retainage due on the contract.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-21.
Make a motion, we approve resolution 2024-21.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to approve resolution 2024-21. Is there any other discussion? All right, vote please. 2 in favor, 1 against. Resolution 2024-21 is hereby adopted.
And then continuing, we do have an FY24 concrete street repair project. This is miscellaneous concrete panels throughout the city. Doug and I had done some preliminary investigation. We have about 20 to 25 different areas in kind of older town, if you will, that we'll do concrete work on this summer. It's in the magnitude of about $200,000 to $250,000. It's one of the budgeted street projects that we had in the budget from last August. So we get this bid, I believe it's on April 2nd, Tuesday, April 2nd, so then we'd have it ready for the following council meeting on the 9th of April to potentially award a contract. So we just are wanting a motion to allow us to go out to advertise for bids.
Okay, so we want to make a motion to allow authorization to advertise for bids.
So moved.
Second.
Vote please. 3 in favor.
And then final, just the only other update we had is on this lovely Valhaven Southwest number 2 and the Ginger Woods number 2 lift station. All the parts came in the end of January and one was damaged, and so they are waiting for the replacement part to come that I've been told is about 3 weeks out. So early on, that was what Jetco that I talked about with Ginger Cove on item A was. They were going to work on all these somewhat simultaneously from a programming standpoint, which makes sense, but now they're going to look to break these up and get them scheduled individually because of the part delay. That's all I got, unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Greg? All right, thank you. City Attorney.
Pretty much like last month, during the last 30 days, been working on some personnel matters and things that are percolating with a couple of the developments that are in progress. I've talked with the people that have Flatwater Estates. Going to suggest to them that we set up a pre-app meeting before we go too much farther, and been visiting with Valley Landing about some of the things they want to do, and that's pretty much it. So.
Okay, any questions for Jeff? Okay, Mayor's report, I don't have too much today. Obviously, we're continuing work on water meters. I think we're down to about 115 that we have left that haven't read for a while. Now that we have, that it's nicer, they'll be able to get back out and do that. They will be flushing hydrants the end of this month or early April. So we're gonna get some communications on that out and what that means. And then we are still in process of hiring a deputy clerk. Upcoming items, Planning Commission next Tuesday, the 19th at 4:30. Valley Days Planning meeting next Tuesday at 6. All right, anything else, guys?
Fine.
Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.